Hello, welcome everybody to Birchal's webinar today, Q&A investor webinar. Today I'm joined by founder Tybalt Henry from Bazaa. But before I introduce Tybalt, I'm just going to do a welcome to country. So I'd just like to acknowledge the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation that we are zooming to today on our Q&A session. Before I kick off with Jabal, I just wanted to let you know that there's a Q&A session that takes place after this presentation, and there's a small bubble at the bottom of the screen. So please do not hesitate to put in any questions that you have for Jabal after his amazing presentation about Bazaa. So before we waste any more time, Jabal, over to you. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Melissa. Hi, everyone. Great to be here and great to have that opportunity to tell you more about Bazaa. I will share a couple of slides, but before that, I want to give a little bit of context and let you know pretty much where I come from in terms of professionally that led me to Bazaa, and where I, my co-founder, comes from as well, how we met and how we decided to crack this problem and create Bazaa. So Aya is sorry she's not available this week. She's traveling and could not just connect to be on the webinar today. So I'm happy to present Bazaa on her behalf as well. So my background is I've been an entrepreneur for the last 10 years of my life. I arrived in Australia 10 years ago, launched my first company that was called Balto, and it was a logistics company delivering fresh goods. And the goal was basically to help big companies like HelloFresh, YouFoods, Marley Spoon, that were really booming back in the day, to deliver their boxes of food to consumers. They didn't have any really strong players doing that. And those who did not have the right technology, not the right service. So I saw kind of a gap in the market and created Balto for that. And I was lucky enough to scale the business quite a bit, and sold the business 3 years after that, and took a bit of a break, then launched another company called Volley. Volley was a quick commerce business delivering groceries very quickly to people in Sydney. In order to do that, we were opening small stores, what we called micro fulfillment centers. And from those stores, we had a fleet of riders fully employed delivering to consumers in Australia. So quick commerce was something that boomed super quickly, that attracted a lot of venture capital money back in the COVID days. And we were part of those companies that raised a huge amounts, probably disproportionate compared to the turnover we were making. So back in the day, I raised the biggest seed round in Australia at a $18 million raise, a $40 million valuation, even though we launched the business less than 12 months before that. So it was kind of a crazy journey. And then the world flipped a little bit. It was harder to raise through VC, and definitely harder to raise when turnover was not following as quickly as the raise. So pretty much every single quick commerce players in the world had to stop operating, or at least pivot hardly, because you did not have access to that much VC money, and not at those valuations. So that's what we did. We stopped the operations in Australia, sadly, because we loved the team we built and the brand we built and the community. But we learned so much and so quickly, so no regrets. And after that, again, took a bit of a break because it was a wild journey, and thought about something that I always wanted to crack, was the secondhand market, and how it's becoming so big in Australia, so big everywhere in the world. For furniture, nothing really exists. The only real solution that managed to scale a little bit is peer-to-peer with Facebook Marketplace, a little bit of Gumtree. But for so many of us, it's actually quite messy, it takes a lot of time. And I always felt like there was a big opportunity to create a really good service out of this. So thought about it, tried to find an angle, and then I met a friend of mine who worked in a venture capital, so an investor, who told me that he met another person, Aya, my actual co-founder, who pitched the same idea with pretty much the same problem, same angle, etc. So we met over coffee, and it clicked straight away. Aya is an ex-consultant, strategy consultant, and ended up being one of the directors and managing director of Depop in Asia Pacific. So knew all about the marketplace dynamic, knew all about the vintage dynamic as well. And she was very involved in selling Depop for $1 billion to Etsy. So amazing success story. And then she had a kid, took a bit of a break, and we met. And she was like, you know what? I want to pretty much create the Depop, for furniture, a bit more premium. And we ended up creating Bazaa. So there you go. That's for the backstory of Bazaa. I will share my screen real quick so we can see a bit of some slides. And there you go. So I'm hoping everybody can see this. Melissa, if there's an issue, let me know, please.
No, I can't see it.
Okay.
So try the. There we go. That's good.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Perfect.
So we are Bazaa. Basically, we started by identifying what we thought was a big opportunity. So the first part of these slides are basically describing the opportunity in Australia. So the furniture market is really healthy, growing steadily through the years. So that's the furniture market in general. So we think it's going to reach, it's basically growing 1.5 from 2024 and reaching 30 billion. Then the resale market in Australia is also booming. So many people are buying secondhand through Facebook Marketplace, through professional dealers, through a lot of different platforms, but it's quite fragmented, but it's growing a lot, and there's a huge opportunity there. So again, the press is following this. Like a lot of people are just moving away, or not 100% moving away, but just are always trying to find value in what they buy, and you get more value by buying secondhand. So a lot of consumers are already doing it. I'm sure a lot of you have already bought on Facebook Marketplace, or potentially from antique dealers or vintage dealers, etc. But again, what I described previously is that we think that the experience is just not there. There's something fun about hunting for a piece, asking many people if the piece is available, etc., etc. But when you do this quite often and do this seriously, it's just super time consuming. And there's definitely something missing here in terms of the quality of the service, in terms of just bringing this really big industry into modern era and offer kind of an e-commerce experience for secondhand furniture. So nothing like Bazaa really exists in Australia. You obviously have the traditional secondhand marketplaces, peer-to-peer, as I described them, Facebook Marketplace, Gumtree, they're doing well, but they definitely don't have the ambition or want to create a kind of an e-com experience and allow you to just browse, through a well-designed website and just buy in one click, know exactly when it's going to be delivered, etc. You have a lot of mom and pops, independent stores, vintage, antique stores, with something very fragmented. Chances are you won't really know what they're selling, where in Australia, and if you do find something, then you have to deal with the logistics, and it's really not easy. You have some marketplaces called collect and curate spaces that are doing it not at scale. So they do also sell some vintage furniture, but they don't have the technology to connect to their sellers, and they're not going to the mass market as we're trying to do. And obviously, you have the traditional new furniture, IKEA, Freedom, Temple, Webster, that offer a great service, a great e-com experience, but you're getting something that chances are will not last the next time you'll move or the time after that. You not have unique pieces, and you're basically not entering that vintage world that we love. We have other players elsewhere in the world that are doing really well. In the US, there's a couple of players that have boomed the recent couple of years. Cherish is a great one. First Dibs is very premium, but does a great job as well. Selency in Europe, Vinterior in the UK. All of these are players that had the same angle that we had in their own countries and are doing really, really well. So I'm Thibaut, and Aya is my co-founder, and we're leading this project. So our goal is really to bring an e-commerce experience to buying vintage. It's not easy, obviously. We're talking unique pieces. We're talking super fragmented everywhere in Australia. But what we want to do is connect with our first phase of growing this business is connecting with everybody selling furniture professionally as a priority. Because when they do have a small website or they have the inventory stored somewhere, we can connect their inventory with ours. And instead of having, 10,000 people just listing one item, we have, 200 listing 100 item each or something like that. And then their inventory is synced with ours. So every time they sell outside of Bazaa, it's removed from Bazaa. And every time we sell for them, it's removed from their website. So it allows us to scale more easily in a more profitable way. But really for the consumer, what we're trying to achieve is the best experience, the buying experience ever. So hopefully we have all the filters you need to find the exact piece you need, the dimension filters, the colors, etc., etc. And with as much stock as possible. We have 10,000 products on the platform, and you can have access to that stock in a great kind of tech manner. So when you buy new, when you think about sustainability, when you buy new, it's actually quite disturbing the way your furniture travels, how long it takes to get here, and how much it's polluting, and sometimes the headache to actually get a piece on time, because a lot of more premium pieces have a lead time of a couple of months, sometimes even 9 months. So we allow people, for example, a lot of interior designers are buying through Bazaa because we have the stock instantly available. So that's what we do. We connect sellers with buyers, and we deal with the logistics in the middle. So we have a fleet of movers that work for us and allow us to move safely, the most unique pieces all over the country. So we have a large community of sellers. We have 10,000 products, as I said, on the platform. We have the best movers for these kind of pieces connected on the platform as well that will work for us and allow us to move anything anywhere in the country. We have, all the insurance needed. You can change your mind when you buy a piece. We have the best ops team ever that will call you to let you know what's happening after you buy a piece, customer service, etc., etc. We have been super lucky to have grown a lot the last 12 months. So 12 months ago, we pretty much just launched. And you can see the sales we did every single month until last month. And we're on track to break that record again this month. So very lucky to what we call basically find our market fit. The response has been amazing. We have not increased our marketing since April 2024, same spend, and the growth is basically explained by the inventory we're adding. So we're adding all these amazing pieces through amazing sellers that are allowing us to really attract buyers that are very motivated and are happy to buy. And yeah, the average basket size is sitting at around $100, sorry, $900, and we started at 500 a year ago. So yeah, very humble to see that growth. It's pretty spectacular. We are still on track to hopefully reach 5 million of annual sales in 12 months. And you'll see the numbers and the projections later on, but so far, amazing growth. So as I said, our goal is not to create growth through paid ads, but really to have a strong word to mouth and SEO, so search engine optimization. So because we have so many listings, Google and any search engine finds us really easily. So if you're after something specific, chances are you'll see Bazaa first very, very often, which allows us to have organic traffic and sustainable growth. 70% of our orders come from organic. We have been lucky to have a bit of a buzz in terms of press, and a lot of people have been talking about Bazaa for the last 12 months. We're doing, customer service is really important for us, so we're doing our best to always have the best service possible, not just tech-wise, but also after you buy, we're super hands-on. So we want to grow our community a lot, and we have plenty of channels to do that. Word to mouth is very strong. We want to scale the supply. We want to be a supply-led company. So really, the more amazing pieces we have on the platform, the more we'll grow organically. It's as simple as that. What is this? We want to scale the buyers as quickly as possible. We have plenty of strategies to increase the basket size. So that is done through tech. We have, working a lot of some addition to the tech that allows people to buy more easily and then ship at a lower cost in order to consolidate that cost. And we've already seen our basket size go from $500 to $900. Our goal is to stay around 900, probably $1,000, but just scale the number of buyers. We are, as I said, the first phase of Bazaa was focusing on professional sellers because there's this convenience of connecting their inventory with ours. They have a rolling inventory as well, so they'll have new stock every single week, and that allows, without adding new sellers proactively all the time, just to have fresh products on the platform every single day. But a lot of amazing inventory are still in people's home, and a lot of buyers, sellers want to change or rotate the inventory and want to get rid of some beautiful pieces. And the best way to do that is to offer the best selling experience to consumers. So we are, at the moment, our backend is really designed for professionals. So even though it works completely fine for everybody, there's a lot of information in there. So if you want to just sell a couple of pieces, that's something we're building and it's going to look great. So again, we're working on the tech daily, weekly to improve it, improve the experience, improve and track the results. We've been, working a lot on the funnel. We are, in terms of business model, we are a marketplace. So we take 15% of what sellers sell. That's with professional sellers. When we're going to start pushing peer-to-peer or consumer-to-consumer, it may increase sometimes to 20%. And we are adding new revenue streams as well. Like the logistics, for example, some of our sellers are already asking us to move their pieces for them. So we're getting revenue outside of just what sells in Bazaa. Our plan is to grow a lot in Australia, to reach, by the end of 2028, more than 100 million of annualized sales. By the end of 2025, we're hoping to reach 5 million, and we're on track for that. In order to reach 100, we want to also expand to other countries in Asia Pacific. We have some countries in mind already, but we have 4 years to think about that. So really what we want to do is offer the best service in Australia, scale in Australia, prove the model in Australia, and then expand where the opportunity makes sense. So 100 million would be the sales, but revenue would be 30 million per year. And our mission is to redefine the financial market secondhand in Australia. So you can have a look at this, but that's for me. And I can probably share the deck. I'm not sure, Melissa, how we can do this, but I'm more than happy to share the deck with anybody that wants to read through it calmly.
Well, we record this session, so this session will actually be on your dashboard on the Birchal site. So anybody who has to leave or who couldn't attend today will be able to view it at any time. Thank you, Thibault. That was a fabulous and very comprehensive overview of Bazaa, and we are open to questions now. Anybody who's attending the webinar, please don't hesitate to put any questions in the Q&A bubble down the bottom, and we'll address those with Thibault. Just wanted to, wondering if you have an exit strategy. I just noticed with your competitions overseas, First Dibs has obviously been around for a while. They're quite well known and they listed, I noticed.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on what would be your exit plan potentially down the track for Bazaa?
So it's always hard to talk about the exit when you just, you've been around for less than a year, right? Or slightly more than a year now. But we are definitely, so the goal, the main goal is just to scale this business at a size where it's becoming obviously the key winner in Australia in that space, and prove that we have disrupted the industry and became a leader. In order to do that, we need to be in control. So the goal is to scale the business to 100 million of sales, as I said, in 4 years. Along the way, we will get approached by other players for potentially mergers, potentially buying us. I'm saying that because it already happened. It's been less than 12 months, and we have already been approached for a merger, and another person was keen to potentially buy us before we started disturbing even more the market. Um, but so as I speak now, and things could potentially evolve, but the goal is to bring this to 100 million of sales and then do IPO at the ASX and bring this company public.
I've got a question that's come through for you, Tybalt. With P2P, how will you differentiate from Facebook Marketplace and Gumtree?
The biggest difference is that we take over from the moment you list. So our tech is designed for the buyer experience to be an e-com experience. So as soon as you listed, then people will interact with the tech quite a bit without even you noticing. You will have a bit of interaction that are very different from the other players' interaction, where offers, for example, are impersonal. You can make an offer, but there's no interaction. So you're not losing your time chatting with everybody. You're just accepting, refusing, or countering the offer. And as soon as it sells, it's your hands off. We'll just tell you when someone is going to come to your place, give you a couple of options, and then you'll be shipped wherever. So the biggest difference here is that it's very, very low effort for everybody listing. And also something else, sorry, is that most of the time Facebook Marketplace and Gumtree are limited to the geography. I know as a buyer, I would kind of put a filter of 5 kilometers, sometimes 10, sometimes slightly more, but basically wherever I can drive. Whereas we're offering the products that you sell everywhere in Australia. And trust me, a lot of people from interstate buy all the time in Bazaa. That's pretty much, I mean, it's 70% what we sell is interstate.
That's fantastic. When you open the marketplace to public sellers, will you keep the same positioning, i.e., vintage furniture marketplace, or will you make it more general for secondhand furniture?
That's a good question. We want to keep it elevated. So we will have a curation. We're not necessarily just going to keep only vintage and antiques. We are already, for example, open to a secondhand designer. We have a lot of them on Bazaa, and the goal is to keep it elevated. So not every single brand will be on there. We are still working on the exact curation, but no, you will have definitely more than just vintage, like mid-century and antiques.
Have you got any protections in place to manage replicas, fake furniture that may be listed on your website? Do you hold the money?
Yeah,
How do you manage this? Yeah.
It's a really good question. So we are not selling replicas on Bazaa, or at least we're doing our best not to. We haven't sold any so far, and we're hoping not to have any for sale on the website at the moment. If you see any, let us know. The way we have dealt with this at the moment was easier than the way we'll do it in the future, which is we onboard trusted sellers. So most of what you see on Bazaa today come from people that have been selling quite a bit for the last couple of years and have a good reputation doing so. And they sign the terms of conditions on Bazaa that basically forbid them from selling any replicas. And we have a team every time something is added on Bazaa, the Bazaa team actually goes through everything before approving it. And we actually also have a tool editing the photos, etc. So you can't just list on Bazaa and your item would be live. We go through it first. So we always check that some replicas don't fall through the crack.
Here's another one. How do you handle the transaction money between the buyer and the seller?
The item is bought. We keep the money until the item is delivered.
Why do you think this market has not been disrupted in Australia as of yet? Have the global competitors you shared tried to enter?
So nobody tried to enter with a strong local strategy. First Dibs is available in Australia, but pretty much all their inventory is overseas. So I think the mistake in my opinion, the mistake that some players made while trying to expand. They boomed in their own country. They felt like it was a huge opportunity to expand in other countries. And my opinion is that you can't expand with the same inventory. You need to own your market and start from scratch in every single market. So what you can do is have the right tech, have the right process, have the right brand. But once you open a new country, you start from scratch by finding the best inventory in the country. It has to feel local. It's already quite a bit of a trot to go from Sydney to Melbourne. We deliver massive couches all the time, etc. That's a 8 or 9 hour drive. So I don't see this scaling well if I had on Bazaa inventory from Singapore, Japan, etc. It's a whole other ball game. So the reason why it hasn't been cracked yet, in my opinion, is that it's not easy. All right, we're talking about furniture that is not flat packed. We're talking about furniture that is not all stored in the same warehouse. So you're connecting so many other players that that are not really well positioned for e-com. Um, so I also think that now is the right time. A lot of these antique stores or vintage sellers 5 years ago did not have a website at all. So some of them do now. So it's easier to create a marketplace at scale through the tech as well.
So in the beginning, Tabor, before you built a presence in online, when you were sourcing, because you've got some pretty rare and fabulous pieces on the Bazaa
Yeah.
side, did you just build your inventory through talking to vintage stores, etc.? How did you work that from the beginning?
Well, starting a marketplace is so hard for that specific reason, right? You're basically going to stores, meeting some sellers without being anybody. They don't know who I am. They don't know who I is. And you're basically telling them that it's going to be a great big success story, but they're like, okay, wishful thinking. The chicken and egg dynamic of a marketplace is always very hard. So everyone that survives the first year with good numbers is in a good spot. So we're lucky that way. But so we went to them. Um, some of them said no and then yes 6 months later. Some of them are like, okay, whatever, do what you have to do, but I'll just give you access to my API and your tech team will do whatever they need to do, but I don't want to lose time on this. So we were more hands-on than ever in the beginning, obviously, because nobody knew Bazaar. And now we're lucky enough to have grown enough to just have the trust already. And most sellers are more than happy to have a chat.
Because there is a question here about curation.
Yeah.
Yeah, talk to us about that process at Bazaar.
So we started this by only doing vintage and antique. So pieces had to be 20 years and older. And then we started, and the reason why I wanted to pitch a little bit of myself and NII is that the reality is that whoever's on the call now, whoever's going to invest in the project. But the reality is that it's a project led by founders and we pivot all the time and it's slightly, right? And so we had a strong appetite for secondhand designer pieces that were a bit younger than 20 years, sometimes just a couple of years, but it were just rare, not produced anymore. And they had an amazing place on Bazaar. So it was more like the demand of the buyers, the demand of collectors, or the demand of interior designers wanting those pieces that if you had to buy the new, you would have a massive lead time, etc. So at the moment, curation is anything that is secondhand and elevated. And we're actually creating a list of brands that can be uploaded on Bazaar or not. And I'm more than happy to share that with the person that question.
I've got a question here about what's your time frame for launching the Bazaar app and C2C selling?
We wanted to launch it a couple months ago, but the scale, I mean, we're scaling so well, the numbers are so good, then you also have to prioritize things. We want to prioritize basically creating the vertical of logistics because at the end of the day, that's a big thing we do. It's move pieces in a very safe way. Um, the goal is to probably launch it in the next 6 to 9 months, have an app ready.
Terrific. How do you differentiate yourselves from auction houses?
We are different in the sense that for the sellers, auction houses are definitely an option, but you have to physically bring your items there. A lot of the sellers on Bazaar actually stopped doing that because Bazaar is doing well for them. But the big difference is the buying experience. Again, we want to create an e-commerce experience for vintage, antique, and designer furniture. So as a buyer, there's no difference in terms of website experience between Bazaar and a proper e-com that buys new. You have the tracking, you have the buying one click, you have the insurance, you have the return policy, etc.
Um, what is your current team structure? How are you scaling? Are you building your in-house team or partnering with vendors?
We are I think there's two questions in the question,
There's
but
two questions there. Sorry, yes.
it's okay.
So the
So
first
first,
one is what is your current team structure and how are you scaling?
okay, so we are trying to, something I learned at Volley is that don't scale too quickly, you know. So we're trying to scale the right way with the right people. So I lead the team. Then we have a head of supply and partnerships because again, we're supply led and this is so key. We have someone on underneath that is basically calling all the sellers, having amazing chats with the sellers. And he's from that industry, previous interior designer leading this. We have an operation manager who is booking all the shippings with our partners. So we have a bit of tech in there. Like every time an order is made, the movers have access to that order and can bid. But after that, we need to secure the job. And we have someone leading the tech team as well.
And are you building your in-house team or partnering with vendors?
So the team I just described is in-house. And because we don't hold the inventory, I think it's important to mention this, right? And the vendors are people that already do this. We have some vendors that start doing this just because Bazaar is very convenient for them. But a lot of people we have at the moment are already doing this either as a side hustle or professionally.
There's a question here too, Taboo, about the state of the competition. About Collect Day. They
Yeah.
seem to be the closest competition. They've been around for 5 years. What are your direct advantages over Collect Day? And second question is on the business model. So it would seem mass is critical and central to your presentation. How are you confident your approach will develop mass appeal compared to that particular?
Yeah, first question is on the competition. Some players have done this. I think Collect historically has been very present in Melbourne at a very high level, focusing on collector pieces, etc. What we want to do is really focus on again, and that goes towards the second question, but on the mass market. And the only way to really do this is by having control over the logistics. So this is my background that I'm using for this business. Scaling in terms of marketing, in terms of marketplace is more what my co-founder Aya is leading. I'm leading kind of the vision towards how to crack this physically as well. And for example, in the future, an option could be to hold some inventory as well, because when you sell a piece, and if it's a bulky piece, you're in a hurry. You know, not a lot of people have enough space to just hold inventory they're selling. So I think there's a big opportunity as well to hold a piece. So that's a big difference between us and the competition. Is first of all the scale. In less than 6 months, we managed to just outpace the competition, and the strategy towards scaling this to the mass market. And why? And the strategy. The second question was how we think we can bring the mass market. Again, the first focus was on connecting professional sellers, and that's why we also chose to go vintage and antiques, because we had those stores and those websites available to sync. And then when you look at, for example, Temple Webster, the valuation is at $1.4 billion and in Australia only. So our goal is to reach 100 million of sales in Australia only, and also potentially open some APAC countries by offering the best inventory in the country secondhand. Whatever sells new today will be secondhand in a couple of years. So we have access to all this amazing inventory connected on Bazaar and offer an e-commerce experience.
I think it's really amazing because it really that sustainable piece is just so important. Keeping furniture out of landfill and just
Yeah.
recycling. It's just such an important part of what you do. Um, there's a question here. What is your biggest challenge you need to overcome in the short term?
Biggest challenge, because we're still year one, is to keep pushing hard on the supply, we have been so lucky to go from, I think when we went live, we had 600 products, so it's a small marketplace. Now we're at 10,000, and I really want to be at 50,000 within the next 2 years. So keep pushing on the supply, finding strategies to continue on board professional sellers that arrive in the market every single month. We have new sellers, doing what they do every single month, and also at one point just connect the mass market and all this amazing inventory available in Australia to the tech. So how can we bring a super easy, friendly, and cool user experience for people selling furniture? And that's going to go through the app that I said hopefully will be available in 6 to 9 months. And then we can scale to the mass market more easily.
So why are you expanding to P2P instead of sticking to professional sellers only?
Well, we could, if we didn't reach the size I just mentioned, like we could focus to what we're doing now. We're already doing very well. We have a lot of growth, but our goal is really to, I mean, what we're doing now is targeting more people that are knowing exactly what they want to buy, people that are passionate about vintage and antiques, which is amazing. And to be honest, I'm passionate about it. But if I really want to crack the secondhand furniture market, then at one point you need to expand to the mass market. When you think about everything that goes to landfill, everything that sells new when it's already available secondhand, I think it's just a shame. And the only way to really do this well is to crack the logistics. And that's why we're working so hard on doing that.
I think that's fantastic, Siobhan. I think we've come to the end of our questions. I think this business is amazing. I'm so thrilled that you're doing the raise with Birchal. I'm also a vintage furniture enthusiast, and so I think what you're doing is just really incredible. And you've got some amazing pieces on that site. So and yeah, and they just don't make them like they used to, do they? You
I agree. I agree.
yeah, exactly. Thanks so much, Tavul, and thank you everybody who has joined this webinar today. And please, if this will be going live offer next week, so please put in your expression of interest if you're interested in becoming a shareholder of this amazing business with Tavul and Aria. And thank you again. Have a lovely
Thank
day.
you. And any questions, reach out on LinkedIn, reach out anywhere. I'm available. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.